Hello, and welcome. My name is Michelle. I am your emotional resilience coach, and today I want to chat to you really quickly about how seeing vulnerability as a weakness is a trauma response. So, what I mean by this. A couple of weeks ago, I was sitting with a client who was telling me that when she was young, she saw her mother cry, and this repulsed her. This brought up a lot of anger towards her mother, and this made her feel like her mother had let her down in some way. After a little bit of a chat and digging around and seeing where this was coming from, her father behaved in the same way. He did not believe that you showed any form of weakness, right? This old adage of cowboys don't cry. So you don't cry, you don't show emotion, you don't show any form of vulnerability was drummed into her from really, really young. And this is how it was perceived in the home, even to the point where the mother carried on this persona. So when she was caught out, essentially, the mother didn't intend to cry in front of her. She walked into a room and she saw her mother crying and emotional. She felt absolutely repulsed by it. And this is a trauma response because obviously this is not a normal response. As a human being, we have emotions. We're going to feel it all, the good and the bad. Anger was seen as a strength, tears were seen as a weakness, and so they would choose, obviously, to feel angry over feeling sad. And the truth is that obviously we need to allow space for both in our lives. We are times allowed to feel angry, but it is very normal to feel saddened as well. And the sad had come through for the mother because there was a loss in her life. Her daughter at the time didn't know what it was that she was crying about. She just saw it as being something wrong, something that we don't do. And from young, when you train yourself as this is not what we do, it becomes harder and harder to drop your guard and allow yourself to feel the emotion more fully. We attack ourselves, we fight with ourselves, we're judgmental, we criticize ourselves, we criticize others, we're judgmental with others. Remember, the sort of behavior that we see people do to other people is the same behavior that they do to themselves. If people are cruel and unkind to other people, they are going to be cruel and unkind to themselves. They don't allow themselves the space to do this. And this is a trauma response because they weren't allowed the space or shown the capacity that feeling and emotions and tears and grieving is a very normal, natural part of life. And what happens is that these things build. So we have things like anger and we have things like disappointment. And we use this, obviously, it's a secondary emotion, to hide ourselves and the world from the deeper emotion that we're feeling beneath us, the pain, the disappointment, the heartbreak. That can't be seen because if that is seen, then we will be perceived as being weak, and then people are going to take advantage of us, people are going to hurt us, and we are going to be in a powerless position. But the truth is that allowing ourselves to feel, to tap into that emotion, to tap into the pain and the heartbreak and the disappointment actually strengthens us and helps us build ourselves up. It builds your resilience up to a place where you aren't feeling so fragile anymore. You aren't feeling like you need to be on guard 24/7. You aren't feeling like you need to put on the facade for the world. You're feeling that you can actually be with your emotions and you give yourself the space and the grace to do that. When you are able to do that, you will find that naturally within you that there is a strength. There is a strength in our vulnerability. There is a strength in our sadness. And this strength lifts us up and allows us to bear more, to take on more, to not feel like we need to always be hyper alert, vigilant, always making sure that we are giving the right response, that we're showing up in the right way, Because at the end of the day, what is all of that nonsense anyway, other than someone's perceived made up idea of what it's supposed to look like? All right. Being human means that we have joy, and it means that we have sadness. We need to remember that when we cut ourselves off from feelings like being sad, we're going to cut ourselves off from the opposite of that, which is feeling joy and happiness. All these emotions intertwined are what allows us to lean into the beauty of being human. And when we do that, we find that deep, abiding strength within us that we are trying to pretend we have, but we don't really have, because we're just staying in the realm of anger, or we're staying in the realm of putting on a face for the world, staying in a realm of, put your best foot forward, grin and bear through it. It is exhausting. And so often, if it's not just going to be physically and emotionally exhausting, which it is to us in this life, there are so many illnesses that come through, like adrenal fatigue and irritable bowel syndrome. And there are a lot of chronic diseases that come out of this, which ultimately weakens us, because we're not allowing ourselves to lean into the beauty of all of it, including our sadness. There is a time and a place for us to be sad. There is a season for us to be sad, to grieve, to know and understand that our grieving is perfectly normal. And when we actually learn to sit with these feelings, when we learn to work through these feelings, when we learn to be with these feelings and see that these feelings don't completely destroy us, we will find beneath all of that a strength that we never knew we had, a real strength. I hope that this has helped you. I hope that this has opened your eyes to see that our emotions are our friends. They are there for a reason. And if we are cutting ourselves off from our emotions, if we are repulsed by our emotions, if we are angry with our emotions, that is a trauma response. We were taught a way that is very dysfunctional and very difficult to maintain long term. In fact, it does for us the absolute opposite of what we're trying to do and achieve for ourselves. Please do come on over to Instagram, say hi to me there. Please hit like, subscribe, and the notifications button.